Columbia Crest Winery presents the 1987 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. Today from Las Vegas, the Budweiser Silver Cup. Brought to you by Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Household Finance Corporation, America's #1 financial services company. And by U-Haul International. Rent it all at U-Haul Centers. People from all over the world try their luck in Vegas. Daytime, nighttime, it doesn't matter. Life is centered around the lights and the tables inside. But today, many people are headed for Lake Mead, 30 minutes outside of town for the Budweiser Silver Cup Unlimited Hydroplane Race, the season finale. Hi, everybody. I'm Don Poyer, and welcome to Las Vegas and Lake Mead on an absolutely gorgeous September afternoon. We're down to the short strokes, the last race of 1987. And just like last year here at Las Vegas, a national champion is yet to be determined. It's between two boats, the defending national champ and current point leader, Miss Budweiser, with Jim Kropfeld, and the Miller American with driver Chip Hanauer. Jim Hendrick is down at the Budweiser camp right now to talk with Jim Kropfeld.
And down this particular boat was the one that won the National High Point Championship right here last year, but its first appearance as a backup craft this year after the mishaps at San Diego last week. And speaking of mishaps, you have your work cut out for you today, but it's not as bad as last year. Last year you had to come from behind. This year you have to stay out front.
Well, that's true. We're having a little problems, though. The boat hasn't been performing up to its equal of last year when we won here at Las Vegas, but we have to go out there and do our job. I think I'm going to run a little conservative race and try to get the high points wrapped up, and then if that works out fine, the boat's running good, then we'll go racing.
2 fourth-place finishes at 169 points each and elimination each will win you the national championship by 1 point if Chip Hanauer were to take them all.
Well, it's going to be a close race again. It was close last year. I guess this is what Las Vegas likes here. That's why they want to have us here for the last event of the season, and that's what makes boat racing.
All right, Jim. Good luck. Now let's check the action for Heat 1A. Here's Don.
All right, Jim, we've got a full field for this race, the Budweiser Silver Cup. Let's take a look at Heat 1A, 6 boats. First of all, Jerry Hopp out of Seattle in the U7, Miss Jackpot Foods Garrett Turbo. Then comes Ron Armstrong driving the U80 Miss Lighthouse Inn. Ron Snyder and the Holset Mrs. Madison this week at 108 plus. Jack Schaefer and the Frank Kinney Toyota Volvo Mazda qualified at over 117. Scott Pierce in the Mr. Pringles, the turbine-powered boat. And finally, newcomer Larry Lauterbach driving the Cellular One in their first race since Madison, Indiana. We've got another 6 boats in Heat 1B on a busy, busy afternoon. Jim, let's look at the rundown.
All right, Don, but I noticed you chuckled when you said Mrs. Madison. I asked Bob Hughes, and he said we're calling it Mrs. Madison because she's about to have a little one, a new Madison for next year, and that's the reason. Now let's check out 1B. Mitch Evans in the U15 Pepsi America's Choice. Household Finance, driven by Todd Yarling. Old Boy Oberto with rookie George Woods. Miss Budweiser with Jim Kropfeld. The Sutphen Spirit. First race for this boat this year. Mike Hansen driving. And the Miller American, driven by Chip Hanauer. And the Budweiser Las Vegas Silver Cup here at Lake Mead, Nevada, starts in just a moment after this timeout.
Wine Country Magazine.
A tradition of horsepower. Miss Budweiser and the king of beers. A tradition of horsepower that's making waves. Racing fans, this Bud's for you.
Here's part of the crowd of better than 70, well, actually over 90,000 people, some of the tent pavilions, as we're ready to start Heat 1A. Some of the drivers going on. Larry Lauterbach driving for the man on the right, Steve Reynolds, who miraculously is even here after that horrible accident on July 5th. The helmet, the gloves, Steve, basically a tutor, you might say, for Larry. Scott Pierce, a veteran of Unlimited Racing, Limiteds as well, strapping in to the Mr. Pringles turbine-powered Unlimited Hydroplane. And what a beautiful sight. Since July 5th when that boat flipped, it's back and it's racing. And Steve Reynolds is back as well. Not as a driver, but certainly as a consultant. Steve Reynolds.
Yeah,
What do you think, seeing that baby of yours go out again?
it's hard, but I like to see it going out just like that.
What'd you tell Larry just before he headed out?
Good luck. Good luck, and be careful.
And turn left.
And turn left, yeah.
This is Jack Schaefer, driving the boat headed up by Jerry Kenny, the Kenny Toyota Volvo, and let's look at the drivers. First of all, Jerry Hopp out of the Seattle area, driving the Jackpot Foods Garrett Turbo. Ron Armstrong, been in the last couple races, starting in Seattle in '87, driving the Miss Lighthouse Inn. Ron Snyder, the veteran out of the state of Ohio, driving for the community of Madison, Indiana. Jack Schaefer and the Kenny Toyota Volvo Mazda, long name. Many moons ago, this man was the Rookie of the Year, Scott Pierce, driving the Mr. Pringles. And technically a rookie, Larry Lauterbach in his first competitive race in the Unlimiteds, even though he's a veteran at the limited level. Let's go racing. A full complement of boats today, a full 12-boat field, 6 in each heat, as you see, and the Mrs. Madison. We'll talk more, as Jim mentioned briefly what that's all about. The start is good on this 3-lap Heat 1A. All preliminary heats, only 3 laps. We have an extra flight, that being 3A and 3B, but here come the boats, and only 5 are running. It looks like the Kenny Toyota did not make the start, so 5 boats running as they go into the first turn. On the outside with the blue air intake system, that being the Cellular One making its return. It tried to qualify down in San Diego. Jim Lucero able to build that boat back up after that horrible accident in Madison, Indiana, involving driver Steve Reynolds. The boat is back, though, and competing with Larry Lauterbach out of the state of Virginia at the helm. And you can see it's like an ocean out there right now. Huge swells, really causing problems. The Holset Mrs. Madison, Ron Snyder, struggling his way through that that first turn, as they now go into the second turn. Again, only 3 laps, so it's very quick. You've got to get your business done in a hurry. Scotty Pierce and the Mr. Pringles in first place in lane number 1, and in lane number 2 to his outside hip. Ooh, nearly hooking it was Larry Lauterbach in the Cellular One. The 2 Sponsons digging in the pickle forks, and he came around a little hotter than he wanted to say the least. Checking on the speeds on lap number 1. Goodness, only 106 and 104 for the 2 lead boats. That tells you how bad it is out there. Both of them qualifying it much faster than that. There's the Lighthouse Inn with Ron Armstrong out of Southern California. Some of the fans here in the pits, better than 90,000 people here, we're told. A good crowd as they come down in front of the pits on lap number 2. The Holset Miss Madison there, and you saw in the background. And Scott Pierce now holding on to first place, going down the back chute. In second, Larry Lauterbach, Cellular One, owned by Steve Woomer out of Seattle, Washington. Both boats out of the Seattle area, and a good race for first and second. Scott Pierce, the winner in Detroit. Look at the boats as they go way up, thrown up into the air because of these swells. This just isn't good, safe racing. It's that simple. This water is horrible right now for these boats to try to even run, let alone compete. But somehow Lauterbach is still up there. He's knocking on the door and challenging Scott Pierce, and he's got him. Cellular One moving into first place. Lauterbach, for the first time in his career, leading in an unlimited hydroplane race. Scott Pierce and the Mr. Pringles in second place. Their engine, the turbine, the marine turbine system, not working in that salt water down in San Diego in the Gold Cup last week. But they are back on fresh water and performing much better, about as well as the water will allow it. Ron Snyder here, he's a great rough water racer. But boy, when you got conditions like this, it's just a matter of attrition, a matter of survival. And again, Lauterbach almost hooks the Cellular One. That creates incredible stress on the front of those sponsons. There's a spar that goes from sponson to sponson across in front of the driver, keeping them together. But the stress and the force is unbelievable. Coming down on lap number 3 with the lead, and it looks like he'll get 400 points. Yes, indeed. The Cellular One, first place, and second place here in Heat 1A goes to Scott Pierce and the Mr. Pringles. The numbers, as you see, only 5 boats finishing. The Kenny Toyota unable to start, but the Holset Mrs. Madison, the Lighthouse Inn, and Jackpot Foods coming in 5th. Down to the pits.
All right, the first competitive ride in an unlimited first competition, and he wins his first heat. Not too shabby, Larry.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's I tell you, it's a neat boat. It's just a great honor for the whole Cellular One team, Jim DeCero, Steve Woomer. These guys went way on the limb to putting the rookie driver in this boat, and
But you're really not a rookie. You've raced so many races in your time in other classes and have been a champion, but you moved up.
no, this is the true champion right here.
Yeah. Well, listen, you took a pretty good seat away from this guy. Of course, he's anxious to come back.
Yeah, I know that. He keeps standing by my side now. I say, look, Larry, don't do too good now.
I tell him that, too. Don't do too good.
No, it's really great. It's the whole thing is really exciting.
Cellular One winner of Heat 1A, Larry Otterback, and, of course, his coach, the big guy, Steve Reynolds. How about the Mr. Pringles action? Let's go down to Don. Don?
My, what a difference a week makes. Get away from that salt water, and you look pretty darn good out there, Sky.
Yeah, down the boat ran pretty good. The conditions are really poor, and can't keep the boat in the water. And I got tangled up with water back down in the first turn, and he didn't hold his lane real good, so I had some damage on the wing. We can run a lot harder than that. The problem that we have is that the boat's not in the water at all. You know, we just keep doing the big leaps and bounds. We do that, we're overspeeding the turbines. That's worse than salt water. That'd take the life right out of them. So I'm real concerned right now that we'll be able to get all the heats in. The boat is running excellently. If we can keep the engines together, we'll have her made.
Next up, the continuing battle for the World Championship in Las Vegas. Out of the Budweiser, the man of the hour who has a world title within his grasp if he can perform today, suiting up. And the man who hopes to have something to say about it, Chip Hanauer, suiting up as well for the Miller American. This is Todd Yarling driving the Household Finance Corporation as Hanauer comes out now. All the drivers concerned about the water, they saw what the boats did in Heat 1A. The swells were causing fits as Hanauer waits to get in. Looks like you're right on time.
Yeah, looks like it. I just hope I can put the boat where it wants to be.
Todd, that seems to be a concern because the water was so rough in 1A. It's tough keeping the boat on the water.
Yeah, it is. And with our turbochargers, they like a constant load on them, so I'm really going to have to baby it. If I get to flying too much, I'm going to have to slow down.
Something on this man's mind? A national title, of course, Bernie Little. But his crew is helping Richie Sutphen's crew with the Sutphen Spirit, a new hydroplane. And Mike Hansen, got to be a nervous fellow right now in his first competitive ride in a turbine-powered boat. The team's based out of Florida as the Budweiser's about ready to go out. Bernie Little got to have butterflies as they try to get yet another world title. Cropfield won it in '84, did so last year. They hope to make it 2 in a row as the Miller heads out. There goes the Budweiser. Bernie Little, deja vu. You could win another national title with the boat you used last year.
Well, I hope so, Don. We put the same combination in that we won here with last year, and this is the first time we've tried it all week. We've had our multitude of problems, but you know Jim, he'll drive it right on through it, and if anybody can win it, he'll do it.
Good luck today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Here are the men that'll be racing in Heat 1B. Mitch Evans driving Pepsi, America's Choice. Ed Cooper, the owner of this boat, also Ed Cooper Jr. Out of Madison, Indiana, Hanover to be specific, Todd Yarling and Jim Sedam's Household Finance Corporation. George Woods out of Seattle and the boy Oberto. Jim Harvey owning that boat. Jim Cropfield and the Bud going after the national title. And the man he's got to beat, well, at least he's got to get a lot of points today. Mike Hansen, one of them, Sutphen Spirit, the turbine-powered boat. And Chip Hanauer, top qualifier here and a winner a week ago in the Gold Cup. Time for 1B. A full 6-boat field again in Heat 1B. The Miller American, a winner in the Gold Cup just a week ago. The Sutphen Spirit you saw, that's making its debut in 1987. All 6 boats are out and running. The Budweiser out in front with Jim Cropfield coming down for the start. Oh, you can see, you heard the gun, and the Budweiser had already gone clear out of the picture frame. Let's see if we get a call on it. In the meantime, Jim Cropfield out in front of the pack in the back of Miss Budweiser after the flip in San Diego 1 week ago. This is the backup boat, and he is racing for a world championship. As best we can figure, if he picks up a 2nd place today in one of these heats, he will indeed pick up the national championship. Needs very few points. It's virtually a lock. But the Budweiser, of course, wanting to pick it up here as soon as possible during the day and then relax and have fun the rest of the afternoon. There's the Oboy Oberto. Now, we've just gotten word that the Oboy has been penalized. As you see the Miller American and the Budweiser, the Oberto has been penalized a lap for hitting a buoy near the starting line. We don't know what that's all about, but that's the word we get. So George Woods and the Oberto penalized a lap, and that puts him at the back of the field. The Miller American, running in clean water, right now moved out into second. Check that first place. The Budweiser is in second place. Again, this is the backup boat, not qualifying anywhere near what that earlier Budweiser boat that had won 5 races this season with Kropfeld aboard. But again, all they need is very few points to pick up the World Championship, and that is top priority for the Budweiser camp. Miller American in first place, and again in second place, the Budweiser. But again, it did indeed jump the gun. You could tell. You could see the boat go past the starting line when the gun went off. In fact, it was out of the picture. The Miller American, however, holding on to first place. Hanauer, not really much of a chance to win the national championship unless the Budweiser were to break today, and Hanauer would win every single heat it entered, which would be 1,600 points. But who knows? Crazier things have happened in unlimited hydroplane racing. This boat, again, the backup boat for the Miller American, but it is almost oblivious to rough water. It's been that way throughout its past. One of the winningest hulls in the history of hydroplane racing. Chip Hanauer out of Seattle, Washington, coming down on lap number 2 in first place aboard the Miller American with an average speed of about 117 miles per hour. The Budweiser physically in second place. The standings really are a bit messed up right now because of the Budweiser and the Oberto. We'll have to straighten them out when we get to the actual final results. But in the meantime, look at the great deck-to-deck race, at least, between Woods and Kropfeld. The Oberto and the Budweiser going into the second, or rather the first turn here on lap 3. Some of the crew watching from the beach here, where they have very long docks. It's such shallow water, they have to take them way out there to get them into deep enough water to go racing. Again, the Oberto, there goes George Woods out of Seattle, the rookie of 1987. Most likely rookie of the year, but then again, Mike Hansen is also a rookie in the Sutphen Spirit, making its debut in 1987. The Miller American, the backup boat, the last you'll see of it, more than likely, is in first place and lapping the Pepsi America's Choice. So the winner of Heat 1B on his way towards a good day, he hopes anyway, Chip Hanauer and the Miller American. This boat being penalized, the Oberto, after hitting a buoy, we're told. George Woods will get you the official results here right away. In fact, here they are now. They've got Sutphen Spirit, the U66, the new turbine coming in at second, the Budweiser in third place, Household Finance with Todd Yarling in 169 in fourth, then the Oberto and Pepsi America's Choice. Strange heat. Let's go down to the pits. Chip, what happened out there?
Well, boat ran good. Everything went well. I really felt Jim Kropfeld had jumped the gun by a long ways, but I haven't heard if they called him on it.
Did he run an extra lap? It was looking like he may have run an extra lap because he just came in.
I don't know. We were on our way in, so I'm not sure, but from where I sat, he was way over.
Well, Bernie, I know you're going for the Points National High Point Championship with a third place finish, 225 points. You're about 114, 15 points away.
Yeah, you're right, Jim. It did make me feel good to see the Miss Budweiser be the first one in the first turn. We know he can outpull all of them, but we told him just go out and get some points and cool it. And we get that 400 points put away and now 100 and whatever. Then we'll go for the boat race.
In other words, you're low on equipment, you got a backup boat, you're going to take it safe until you know you have it.
That's exactly what we're doing.
And then it's go for broke the last race of the year.
That's what it's going to take, and the Miss Budweiser will be at the winner's circle.
Down at the dock, that's Chip Hanauer talking with Commissioner Don Jones, talking about whether or not the Budweiser jumped the gun. He certainly feels like he has a case, and our pictures showed that the Budweiser was well past the starting line. We'll be back right after this. The shores of Lake Mead, Las Vegas, Nevada, and the Budweiser could take the national title on this next heat. Everything's on the table, guys.
Well, we're going to be take our time and see what we can do here. We need a fifth, and that's all we're shooting for.
The Miller American and Chip Hanauer is hands tied right now. Even if he wins every heat today, all the Budweiser needs is a fifth place, as Kropfeld said. 113 points. He could get 127 at number 5. Kropfeld strapping in one more time here. An amazing story here. The Miller American and the Budweiser have met very, very few times in preliminary heats in 1987. They've already done it 2 times in a row. This will be the second time today in just one race. And here they go again. Kropfeld on the outside. Miller American back in the pack. And here comes Kropfeld for the start. Right on the button that time. On the way outside is the Budweiser. Moving up on the inside, it is the Oberto along with Ron Snyder and the Holset Mrs. Madison. But on the outside again, the Budweiser and Kropfeld really wired that start as he goes into the first turn. Moving up on the inside. Here comes the Miller American in lane number 2. Lane 1 is the Oberto on the right of your screen. The Budweiser still in first place. Keep in mind now, the Bud only needs 113 points to pick up the national championship. He could finish as low as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th place, pick up 127 points and win the national title. Hanauer on the inside, fighting to win the battle. The Budweiser hoping to win the war as Kropfeld staying on the outside, still with first place in this heat. Third place with the Oberto and George Woods trying to get points after being penalized in that earlier heat for hitting a buoy, which he claims he did not do, that the water and the spray from his rooster tail is what hit the buoy. In the meantime, this is the leader. The Budweiser in the backup boat, Jim Kropfeld out of Cincinnati, many times has been inducted into the APBA Hall of Champions, a national champion last year, a national champion back in 1984. And here comes Chip Hanauer in the Miller American on the inside, hoping to at least take the heat victory as he moves away in the backup Miller American boat, the boat that brought them their 6th straight Gold Cup victory last week in San Diego on Mission Bay. Hanauer in first place, but right behind him, what appears to be inevitably the world champion, that being Jim Kropfeld in the Miss Budweiser, staying outside, away from any kind of trouble with the Miller American, the rooster tail, turbulent water, you name it. All he needs, there's one of the crew members, and obviously telling Jim Kropfeld, all you need to do is finish. Get at least a 5th place, and you've got the national title. All the beans in one preliminary heat right here on Lake Mead in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hanauer, who went through a great deal of frustration in 1987, coming out with a new boat. The boat just quite simply didn't perform well enough for their camp, could not keep up with the Budweiser, and then suffered damage to the spar, which holds the sponsons together out in front of the driver, what we talked about earlier today in dealing with the Cellular One. And they had to go to the backup boat, and it has performed beautifully. As you can see, it's still even rough for this boat. Miller American in first place, coming down to complete Heat 2A. It'll be Hanauer winning the battle with another 400 points, 800 for the day. But let the celebration begin in the Budweiser camp. Here comes Jim Kropfeld, the 1987 world champion. Jim Kropfeld in the Budweiser. Third place, the Oberto. And congratulations to the Bud team, their 2nd straight national title. Bernie Little can relax now. The owner of the Miss Budweiser, they got the points they needed, and the national championship belongs to Bernie. Congratulations to him and the entire crew. The Miller American winning the heat, Oberto coming in 3rd, and the rest of the field. Let's go down to the national championship camp.
Oh, a happy camp to say the least, a 2nd straight national high point championship for Bernie Little, and of course his driver, fine driver Jim Kropfeld. Bernie, you have to be elated.
Oh, yeah, how can I tell you? I mean, you've seen what we had to do and what happened last week with upsetting Miss Budweiser, and for Jim to go out there and take the backup boat, wind up as a world champion in national high point. We're fantastic and very happy, and thanks, Jim, for one great job.
Jim, now you're going to tell us what this blue bandana means now the season's over?
Season's not over yet.
Well, you're national champion.
That's right.
You're still going to wait till the end.
That's right.
You got to win this race yet, Jim.
The mystery continues. National high point driver and the boat, the Miss Budweiser, Jim Kropfeld, for the 2nd straight year, decided right here on this very course. Now let's go down to Don Poyer in the Miller camp. Don?
You're finishing strong, but not enough in time, I guess is the best way, as Budweiser wins the national championship.
Yeah, well, we knew going into the day that was something that was out of our control, and we try to have the philosophy of not worrying about things that we can't control, and we never really did consider the national championship. We were just trying to win the boat race.
On the other hand, you're having a great send-off or kickoff for 1988, bringing in the other crew from Houston, working on the turbines. You're really on a roll right now.
Right, comparatively anyway, from where we were at the beginning of the year. And no matter what happens today, I think the team now is on a more positive tack, and we just have to keep that going.
So the World Championship has been decided, but we have much more racing here on Lake Mead, so stay with us. This is the Continental High Performance Corner. A closer look at the fastest race boats in the world. For our high performance this week, we have a gentleman who has literally seen it all in many, many years of hydroplane racing, the head referee, J. Lee Shaneth out of Detroit. And Lee, we have gone through a very significant year in the fact that we've had 3 serious blowovers, and yet Not only did the driver survive, but in Jim Cropfeld's case last week, he walked away from it, and Steve Reynolds is going to fully recover. This is a whole new era in hydroplane racing.
Well, there's no question without the enclosed cockpits, I don't think either of them would have survived, especially Steve. His crash was so severe and damaging to the boat and everything. I hope these owners and designers can get them to stop blowing over, but thank God we have those cockpits for the drivers.
Now, in 1988, they plan to have all boats with these canopies. It's costly. It's not easy to do, and yet they went ahead and enforced that for 1988, right?
Well, they're going to try and do it. There may be a couple exceptions. Some of these old boats, I don't believe it's possible, but they're working on design now. The new boats positively must have them. And really, I don't want to give you a cost figure because I don't know positively, but they're cheaper than what I thought.
And one of the burning issues of 1988, how will other camps be able to put canopies on their boats? Mitch Evans, one of the drivers that will be enclosed next year, hopefully. And Jack Schaefer in the Kenny Toyota heading out. Time for Heat 2B. Six boats coming into Heat 2B, and once again, the Cellular One and Mr. Pringles will lock horns as they come around the north turn. The rest of the field, the Kenny Toyota, Pepsi America's Choice. Here they come for the start. It looks like the Mr. Pringles is on the inside. The Cellular One is way back as they come up for the start. It's a good start. Everybody a bit late, as a matter of fact. Behind the buoy as the gun sounds. Going into the first turn, it's the Mr. Pringles with the lead. That's the Lighthouse Inn on the outside. Kenny Toyota way outside. The U-66, the Sutphen Spirit in its debut. That's Mike Hansen out of Seattle getting his first ride in a turbine. They've been trying to qualify that boat since Syracuse, New York, but everything is working for them now. Look at it go behind the rooster tail of the lead boat, the Mr. Pringles. Down the back chute, you see part of the fairing, which holds the rear wing for the Mr. Pringles. The cover over it is no longer there. The crew did not put it back on after some water damage. But what a race for first and second. Two turbines, the Pringles on the inside, Sutphen Spirit on the outside. Third place to the Cellular One and Larry Lauterbach in his first ride in the Unlimiteds. A veteran of many classes of limited driving, 2.5 mod, the stocks, the 5, 6, 7 liter, the Grand Prix, and now the Unlimiteds. And here's the lead for first and second. On the inside from Seattle, Scott Pierce with one victory in 1987. And on the outside, the youngster getting his first ride with a hot boat, that being Richie Sutphen's Sutphen Spirit out of Florida. And third place is the Cellular One and Larry Lauterbach driving for Steve Woomer. What a story for Mike Hansen. He moved from Seattle down to Florida to work for Richie Sutphen's camp. Sutphen making a great name for himself already in the world of offshore racing, now making the big step into the Unlimiteds. And he is doing quite well. They have struggled all year to get this program together. They couldn't get it up on a plane in Syracuse. They couldn't qualify it in the saltwater down in San Diego. But now things are working for Hansen and company as he comes around the turn. Look out as the Mr. Pringles nips one of the buoys. It doesn't look like he has dislodged it or destroyed it, which would penalize him. He is still holding on to second place. That's Scott Pierce, and still in third is Larry Lauterbach in the Cellular One. But now, okay, we've just gotten word, as you see Danny Walters of the Cellular One team, that Scotty Pierce has been penalized one lap for evidently chopping off the Cellular One coming around for the start, coming out of the turn. All right, that's the ruling from the start-finish line. Head referee Lee Shaniff. As you see, Cellular One, as a matter of fact, slowing way down now, going down the back chute on the last lap. But the Mr. Pringles has been penalized a lap. He is not in second place. And we're going to have to straighten this out, much like we had to straighten out Heat 1B. But the leader, this man right here, we know that for sure, the Sutphen Spirit out of Florida. Mike Hansen, the driver out of Seattle. His first ever victory in the Unlimiteds. First place to him. And for the Mr. Pringles, they're going to have to go around one more lap. Unofficially, we've got this boat, the Cellular One, coming in second. We'll have to wait and see. This is the Mr. Pringles coming in, and you've got the crew. You can hear them telling them to go out. You got one more lap to go. Now he's got to fire up that marine turbine one more time. Get out there. He's got really plenty of time. You have 15 minutes to complete a lap, or at least stay on a plane. If he can get up in time, he'll go ahead and hit the points. My goodness, what a day. Well, let's at least go to the winner. We know that for sure. That's Sutphen, the Sutphen Spirit, along with the Lighthouse Inn coming in second place, the Kenny Toyota, Pepsi America's Choice, and then the Cellular One struggling, but finally finishing. What a day. Down to the pits.
Mike. Hey, Mike.
Mike Hansen, congratulations. How about that first heat win?
Ah, that's great. I love it. Yes, we got this thing running great.
Well, I know all the frustrations you went through, like in Syracuse, elsewhere, and now you're finally hitting fruition.
A whole lot of summer, a whole lot of work is what it was. And the guys at Sutphen Marine just helped us put together a boat that just works.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you more rest of the day then.
I sure hope so. Thank you.
Keep going, Mike. Congrats. Scott Pierce on the Mr. Pringles has completed his penalty lap, and Scott is very hot. Let's get a word from him. Scotty, you know what happened? Where was the ruling?
I have no idea. I mean, I had lane one when I came on the start. I had lane one through the corner. I can only drive one boat at a time. I mean, we make up these rules as we go along, and I'm really getting tired of it.
It's been that kind of day here on Lake Mead. We'll be back in just a moment.
I had lane one when I got it.
Performance. It's what separates the best from the rest. Household Finance, a leader in financial services.
Welcome back to Lake Mead in Las Vegas. This gentleman right here owns the boat that finished second only a week ago in the Gold Cup, his best finish ever in the Gold Cup. You got to be happy about that, Jim Sedan.
Oh, we were thrilled to death. We blew an engine in the first heat, and we're struggling the rest of the day, and crew changed the motor for every heat, and it worked out real good. It was awful close to sweet victory.
Now this week, you're really in the battle of a great fight for national points between the other piston engine-powered boats. You've got a lead by, what, 14 points among the other boats?
Yeah, we got a 14-point lead, and in this draw, we drew 4 turbine boats, so it looks kind of bad right now. In Seattle, I opted not to run the consolation race because we were the second alternate. We lost 200 points right there, and it's coming back to haunt me right now.
Good luck, though.
Thank you much, Don.
And there goes Saddam's Boat Now, sponsored by Household Finance. Todd Yarling driving. Our last full heat of preliminary racing with 6 boats again. Miller American, Sutphen Spirit on down the line. In fact, we've just got word now. Cellular One is not going to be racing here. They do have damage to the spar, which holds the sponsons together. The Budweiser right on the button. Here comes the Miller on the outside. Both boats safe. The whole field is safe as they go down into the first turn. The Miller American on the way outside. Hanauer electing to stay away from the buoy line like he has done in the past, gone inside. This time to the outside. The long way around the turn, but he's got the boat speed and the boat he knows to beat the field. And I don't think anybody's doubting that, especially with the Budweiser driving the backup boat, not the boat that gave them 5 victories in 1987. Look at the lead already for the Miller American and Chip Hanauer. This boat, the old boat, as you see the Budweiser, setting a new world record of better than 155 miles per hour for an average qualifying lap down in San Diego on a 2.5-mile course. That's the old boat. That's after they brought in the new turbine specialist out of Houston. The Stuart Stevenson people came in and did an excellent job turning that program around for the Gold Cup, enabling them to win their 6th straight Gold Cup and to be the first team ever, and Hanauer the first driver ever to win 6 consecutive Cups. In the meantime, he has first place here in Heat 3A. The Budweiser in second place with Jim Kropfeld. No question, these 2 drivers are the best, period. The best and the fastest drivers in the business. This is one of the greatest young names coming up in Todd Yarling, who is in a battle right now for the national points lead for all of the piston engine-powered boats. They're battling fellow Madison, Indiana boat, the Holset Mrs. Madison, as they call it this week, for the national points lead for the piston-powered engines. But in first place, with a turbine engine screaming behind him, Chip Hanauer out of Seattle, Washington, coming down to complete lap number 2 as the water is still very unforgiving here on Lake Mead. We were blown out of here last year. We had to come back and finish the race day on Monday. Average speed, 122.4 miles per hour after a 124 mile per hour lap on the first lap for Miller American. Third place is the Sutphen Spirit with Mike Hansen, who picked up a preliminary heat victory earlier, his first ever as an unlimited hydroplane driver. Hear the rumbling as the water hits the sponsons? That's a new sound to unlimited hydroplane racing. In the past, these piston engines were so loud you could never hear that. But now with the quiet whistle of these turbines, you can hear a lot of different strange sounds, and that's one of them. The water rumbling as they hit the running surface back in the back of the boat, the transom, and of course on the sponsons. Miller American, whether or not this boat will be retired at the end of this day, nobody knows. This boat most certainly will. It'll become a display boat, as Bernie Little plans to build yet another Miss Budweiser, maybe even to replace the boat that did so well for them in 1987. The Miller American and Hanauer coming around the second turn for the final time on these 3-lap preliminary heats, a new format which was tried in Madison, Indiana last year, then tried here in Las Vegas. A lot of people like the idea. It gives the fans more starts, more excitement, and simply more racing. But here's the Miller American, another 400 points, a perfect day for the Miller, and the Budweiser, second place to Jim Cropfield with an average speed of better than 109. Third place, the Sutphen Spirit, Mike Hansen out of Florida. And fourth place, the Household Finance Corporation, Todd Yarling. Here are the numbers. Another 400, 300, 225 for the Sutphen Spirit. Mike Hansen very quietly having a good day. Household Finance is going to be a battle to make the final. The Lighthouse Inn and Cellular One unable to start because of the damage to the hull. Down to the pits.
Well, after making it 3 for 3, I guess we have to ask you what's down the road for a haul and engines next year.
For what? I'm sorry.
I said now that you won 3 in a row, what about it next year? You're going to go with the same hull and maybe put a canopy on it? Or will there be a new Miller American?
You're about 3 hours too early to ask that question. Right now, the only thing in our mind is trying to win here in Las Vegas. So come back about sundown. I maybe give you a better answer.
We're going to get the answer at sundown, folks, as the drama unfolds. Congratulations, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
3 in a row for Chip Hanauer, Miller American. Don?
And this is why the Cellular One was unable to race. The repair work you can see going on with that right spar. Ready for the final. Back in a minute.
Outboard World Championship Series was played before a tremendous crowd under sunny skies at Miller's Bay on Lake Winnebago in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Drivers from 10 states and 2 countries were running hard, sometimes over the ragged edge, looking for the World Championships in D-Stock Hydro, 25 Superstock Runabout, and 25 Superstock Hydro classes. Bob Humphrey from West Palm Beach, Florida, had already captured the D-Stock Hydro Championship before arriving at Oshkosh by winning the first 3 races at Lake Moore, Ohio, Washington, D.C., and Grass Lake, Michigan, dominating his competition along the way. We asked Bob about his great season and his strategy in capturing the title.
This year, the challenge itself developed into the finest drivers in the world competing in the D-Stock Hydro class. So I took it very, very serious. Like, I took it more than a hobby. This was like a passion for me to win this thing this year.
Vic Brinkman of Center City, Michigan, had won 2 of the first 3 races of the 25 Superstock Runabout class, but was feeling pressure from second place man Bob Austin out of Rumson, New Jersey, who would need 2 perfect heats in order to have a shot at the championship. In heat number 1, Austin nailed the start and led all 3 laps. But in the second heat, Austin could only muster a 6th, and Brinkman won his well-earned crown by finishing 93 points ahead at series end. The closest battle for a championship and most exciting racing of the day came in the 25 Superstock Hydro class, with just 44 points separating leader Mike Mammano of Webster, New York, and Matt D'Agostino of Alexandria, Virginia. Drivers' nervousness showed as it took 5 starts to complete 2 heat races, including 3 in heat number 1. But once the racing got underway, the fans were treated to a tremendous battle between Mammano and D'Agostino. The lead swapped hands 3 different times in the final lap, with Mammano taking the lead for the final time on the outside of D'Agostino on the last turn of the race. John Brogue's spectacular accident forced a second restart of the second heat, and Mammano stayed ahead of D'Agostino on their circuit, while last year's world champ Steve Warnock won the heat. Mammano tells us his strategy of lane selection, racing against his chief rival Matt D'Agostino for the title.
Well, it's just because of the rough water. Matt was a little faster than me going with the smooth water. When we got into the turn down there, I could stay on the outside of him. When we got into the rough water, he was having problems holding the boat down. And I could gain a lot of speed on him on the backstretch and get it side by side on him going into the turn, and I finally passed him going through the turn.
At day's end, the world champions were crowned as the class's top 3 drivers were introduced to the thousands of fans who had enjoyed the excitement that only World Championship stock outboard racing can have. In the Western Championship of the Mercury Challenge Series, Rick Hannon of Portland, Oregon is the leader in D-Stock Hydro. John Hannenberger of Everett, Washington heads the 25 Superstock Hydros, and Lloyd Mize of Galt, California is leading in the 25 Superstock Runabout class with 1 race to go in that series. From Oshkosh, Wisconsin at the 1987 Mercury Challenge Stock Outboard World Championships, this is Steve Michael reporting.
Back here on Lake Mead, next on the agenda is Heat 3B. To look back at Heat 3B, it was a tough heat on half of the field. The Jackpot Garrett, the Kenny Toyota, and the Oberto, all of them unable to finish. In fact, the Kenny Toyota unable to start. This one belonged to this boat, the Mr. Pringles. A frustrating day for Scotty Pierce after being what he felt was cut off in his first preliminary heat, then penalized for chopping off a boat in the second preliminary heat. Finally, everything clicked, and he went on to get all 400 points and make it into the final heat aboard the Mr. Pringles. This boat coming in second place was Ron Snyder and the Holset Mrs. Madison, the boat that is being retired at the end of today's race. That was Mitch Evans going by in the Pepsi America's Choice. Here, Scott Pierce again in the Mr. Pringles. They will have a new boat in 1988, a turbine-powered boat, maybe even two boats. Who knows? I know that the Procter & Gamble people are very excited about unlimited hydroplane racing, and they have many products that they could use effectively and market as well as compete very well in unlimited racing as they are in NASCAR and other sports. This boat will be retired, and they hope to raise the funds in Madison, Indiana to build a new boat in 1988. So the numbers in Heat 3B, Pringles getting the victory, the Holset Miss Madison in its final preliminary heat. Hopefully that boat will go on to the Hydroplane Hall of Fame. Then the Pepsi America's Choice and the other boats having problems. Back down to the pits.
Day sounds like it's working out better for you, big guy.
Well, I keep the referees off my back.
Uh-oh,
And just
watch out.
let us run a race. I think we'll do fine. You know, I made sure I stayed out of everybody's way. I don't want to give them any reason to think anything's out of line. So.
You needed a first or a second to make the finals.
Yes, I intended to win the heat. I try to win every heat that Mr. Pringles is in, so it was my object to win the heat.
All right, Scotty. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
Don?
Scott will have some tough company in the final, like Mike Hansen, who drives the Sutphen Spirit. This boat is on a roll today, and of course the Budweiser, which has already picked up the national title. Back in a minute. Lake Mead, we are down to the last 5 laps of 1987. What's on the minds of some of these drivers in the final heat of the year?
Oh, we want to do this in style. We want to pull this one off. We're going to do our best.
Boy, am I glad it's over.
I think at this point, you really hope that just it's a safe final heat. It's been a long summer, and everybody's intact, so I think it's going to be real competitive, and I just real hope it's safe.
And here's a sight to remember. Ron Snyder taking out the Grand Old Lady for the final time. The boat will be retired after this heat. All 6 boats are out and running for the last final heat of 1987. The Pringles, the Holset Miss Madison, better make it Mrs. Madison, the Lighthouse Inn, the Miller, and the Budweiser. The Budweiser already has the national championship tucked in its pocket. Now it's just time to have fun. And here they come for the start, the final in the Budweiser Silver Cup. All the boats right on the button as they come down the straightaway, right down Broadway, and on the outside looks like, yep, it's the Budweiser with Jim Kropfeld trying to get a jump on the Miller American, but not this time. Look who's on his inside. It's the Miller and Chip Hanauer out of Seattle with a slight lead going into the first turn. On the inside, the Mr. Pringles, the familiar stripes across the cowling as Scott Pierce tries to hold on to the Miller. The Budweiser and the Pringles battling for second and third right now. The Budweiser out in lane number 3 behind the Rooster Tail. Look at this, the battle for 4, 5, and 6. The Holset Miss Madison, the Lighthouse Inn, and it's going to be, well, when these drivers get together for the last final heat of the year, they tend to air it out, to have fun, and just go for broke, and that's exactly what you're seeing. On the inside is the Mr. Pringles. There's the Budweiser in second place. And in first place is the Miller American as they come down. And look at the traffic jam coming around the second turn, completing lap number 1. 5 laps on the final. 3 in the preliminary heats, now 5 laps as Fran Muncie, owner of this boat, waits on, hoping that Chip Hanauer could pick up his second victory in 1987 for the Miller crew. Should he win, he will set himself up in history. He will tie one of the great ones, Dean Chenoweth, with his 25th victory. That's where Dean is at right now, number 2 all-time at 25, Hanauer at 24. And, of course, Bill Muncie, the leader of the pack, with 62 career victories. The Miller American coming down to about to complete complete lap number 2. An average speed better than 123 miles per hour. Second place and third place right here, the Bud and the Pringles. Where's the Bud going? On the inside, cutting in towards the Pringles is the Budweiser. I don't know what happened, but somehow the Budweiser cutting in. It looked like he may have hooked. Maybe his steering went. We don't know, but he took the right fairing from the Mr. Pringles. The wing, I don't know how it's even staying up there on the chimney or the exhaust pipe or that turbine. The Budweiser dead in the water. Luckily on the infield, Cropfield able to get it out of the race area. Down the main lanes, he's on the infield. The Miller American, oblivious to what has happened. Hanauer does not know that the Budweiser collided with the Mr. Pringles. Scott Pierce somehow keeping this machine and the boat going into that second turn. Fran Muncie obviously concerned because anytime you get debris out on a course when you have boats traveling at better than 160 miles an hour in straightaways, the slightest amount of fiberglass or aluminum can cause severe damage, even an accident. So now the boats have to be very careful. The yellow flag is out. Sutphen's boat, the Sutphen Spirit, driven by Mike Hansen. He is back right now in third place. Hanauer's times or speeds for the first 3 laps, 119, then 123, and then letting up a little bit on lap number 3 at 121.3, completing lap number 4, and it looks like we'll get a time be about 115.9 miles per hour. So Hanauer letting off the pedal considerably. That is second place. Mr. Pringles and Scott Pierce doing a great job. There goes the wing, and now it's out in the straightaway. And let's just hope the drivers can see the wing in there, because yes, that could cause severe damage to one of these boats. Needless to say, it could cause an accident. And now this boat much less stable because the rear wing being gone. And Scott Pierce has his hands full, to say the least, as he holds on to second place. Mike Hansen, the boat bouncing around as well. This water has not gone down or calmed at all throughout the entire afternoon. No real amount of wind, but just a lot of swells, which is the worst enemy of unlimited hydroplane racers. Salt water and swelling, lumpy type water. Choppy water, no, but lumpy like this can really cause problems. Hanauer evidently sees the wing on the main straightaway that belongs to the Pringles. This is it. Chip Hanauer wins it. It's victory number 2 for the year, number 25 for his career, now tied with Dean Chenoweth, the former great Budweiser driver. Second place to Scott Pierce. Congratulations to him. And third place, what a day for Mike Hansen and Richie Sutphen's Sutphen Spirit. Fran Muncie picking up her second victory in 1987. The Holset crew, the boat now officially retired. Carol Hughes, Bob Hughes. That boat, the Holset Mrs. Madison, they call it Mrs. because they're expecting a little one. A new boat in '88, and now the fun drive begins, trying to raise the money to build a new one for that community back in Indiana. There are the final results, and let's go down to the winner's circle. The Miller American team and Chip Hanauer with his 25th victory. Chip, congratulations. Talk about finishing strong in '87, a Gold Cup, and now this one here in Las Vegas.
Well, there's just too many people to thank. I'm just the recipient of a lot of people that, you know, dedicate all their time and give up all their personal time to be with their families, to do things they enjoy, just so the Miller American can go out and win races. And as a group, I want to thank Stewart and Stevenson, who came to our rescue before the Gold Cup. And as you can see, our motors run okay. And this motor ran all day long. It never changed anything. I kept coming back, telling them it felt good, and they said, let her run. So everybody just did a great job. And I think the end of this year really is to be dedicated to the persistence of Fran Muncie. I tell you what, I'd hate to race against her.
And a look at the NGK final point standings show the Budweiser winning by a mere 488 points over the Miller American. Congratulations to all the boats on a great 1987.
Wine Country Magazine gives
Casino Hotel for his assistance in the production of this show. The 1987 official spark plug is NGK, the source for serious power. Air transportation provided by Continental, the official airline of unlimited racing in 1987. Columbia Crest Winery brings you the 1987 Unlimited Hydroplane Series, sponsored by Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Household Finance Corporation, America's #1 financial services company. And by U-Haul International. Rent it all at U-Haul Centers. For Jim Hendrick, I'm Don Poyer. So long for 1987.